Well, good evening, everybody. We feel very relieved tonight. The Democrat shutdown is finally over, thanks to House and Senate Republicans who stood together to get the job done. Absolutely no question in anybody's mind now that the Democrats were responsible for this. What happened? Millions of American families went without food on their table. You had millions of Americans stranded in airports, their flights canceled and delayed. You had troops and federal employees wondering where their next paycheck would come from. The Democrats openly admitted, many of them said it in their own words, that they used the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause that pain to the people, and they did it anyway. They did it for their own selfish purposes, their political purposes, and it was a game they played with real people's lives. It's something that is very difficult to forgive. I want to say that all this was utterly pointless and foolish. This outcome was totally foreseeable. I said that this would be the outcome when all this began back in mid-September. They did it anyway. Democrats admitted that they used the people as leverage, and they got nothing for their selfish political stunt here. They didn't achieve anything with this at all. I'm proud of that achievement, but I'm really sad that it took us so long to get here. It was so much pain that had to be endured to get to this point. Voters are going to remember which political party played games with their lives.
The motion upon reconsideration is agreed to.
There's a technically bipartisan deal to end the government shutdown, but many Democrats are not happy about it.
The American people want us to stop this health care heist. They don't want Democrats to be driving the getaway car.
And this is not a usual fight in the Democratic Party between progressives and centrists, even though it was centrist Democrats who cut this deal. There are many across the left that are angry that the compromise does not include a guarantee of extending the Affordable Care Act health insurance premiums that were at the heart of this shutdown fight. There's only the guarantee of a vote in the Senate, not in the House, and no guarantee of Republican support in the Senate. So that leaves many Democrats thinking that these 8 senators capitulated to Republicans and gave away what limited leverage the party has in Washington. None of these 8 senators are up for election in 2026, and that's notable. It's Angus King from Maine, an independent, swing state senators from New Hampshire and Nevada, including Jeanne Shaheen, who has announced a retirement, Dick Durbin from Illinois, also retiring. There's also a lot of added pressure on Senate Leader Chuck Schumer. The New York Democrat opposes the deal, but many progressives and some moderates are angry at the Senate leader for not being able to keep his caucus together to extend the shutdown and keep pressure on Republicans on those health care subsidies. The politics are complicated, and look no further than Virginia, the state with hundreds of thousands of federal workers. Those senators, both Democrats, split on this deal. Tim Kaine is one of the 8 deal makers. Mark Warner voted against it. So there's no absolute easy answer for any Democrat in this scenario.
Okay. Any questions?
You mentioned senators that are here, Mr. President. Do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill?
Well, it depends what deal we're talking about. But if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit. But I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything. And we have support from enough Democrats. And we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good. We're not going to be giving $1.5 trillion to people that came in from jails and from, the gangs and drug dealers and all of these others that they wanted to be given health care, which would have hurt our health care system. I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please.
Well, folks, that was the reaction from around the Beltway to the end of the government shutdown of 2025, which took us to very much to crisis levels. And a lot of people had their SNAP benefits and health insurance and everything else. A lot of people were out of work during the government shutdown. and now it has finally ended. The Democrats folded because, of course, they did. It's literally what they do. It's literally what they do. So here's what happened with the end of shutdown deal here in the United States. The government has been in shutdown since October 1st after Congress failed to pass funding legislation for the fiscal year. The Senate actually passed a funding measure that would reopen the government and fund most of the government agencies through January 30th of next year. The plan also restores pay for federal workers and shifts operations back to normal. Now, here's what this deal is not going to do. It's not going to include an extension of any of the subsidies under the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. Their tax credits, which was really one of the main thing the Democrats were supposed to be doing this for. But there is a promise of a vote on the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, or as I like to call it, Romney Care, because that's who it really came from, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, of the Romney Care subsidy issue in December, but it is not committed in the reopening measure. So, hey. Some of these controversial provisions are embedded in the funding legislation. For example, allowing senators to sue over certain phone record investigations, which has drawn cross-party criticism. Now, we are going to be feeling the impacts of this shutdown, even though everything is supposed to be back to normal. I mean, 900,000 federal employees were furloughed, and another 2 million worked without pay during shutdown. You had some people who just quit and just said, I'm going to go do something else. Most of the people who work for the government because they think of, well, it's stability. They think of the stability of working for the government. And this administration has said, oh, screw all that. There's no stability under Donald Trump. That's for certain. Programs like this Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, experienced disruption, and many of the benefits lapsed for the first time in decades. And we know that here. A big shout out to Ty Atkins and the people at the Calumet Trustees Office, because, you know, they said, look, a lot of people, we got your back. If you guys are suffering because of the shutdown, we will definitely try to help you. In a lot of the Food Bank of Northwest Indiana and a lot of the different entities who like to help people and help provide food for filling those gaps for the people missing their SNAP benefits, have been open all around this area. So big shout out to all of them. They, you know, they've done their jobs. But a lot of people still went without. Like, they really did. Travel, we had travel, particularly air traffic, because of air traffic controllers and other government dependent services. They were very heavily impacted by the shutdown. We lost a lot of money. Our economy lost a lot of money during this shutdown. And a lot of people lost their jobs, or, like I said, chose to move on to some other type of work because of the lack of stability that's supposed to be working with the government. The reason that the United States has always been economically a safe bet with the rest of the world, besides the fact that we're the ones who goes around the world clubbing everybody else upside the head and overthrowing their governments, is the fact that we supposedly have stability in our government. And this administration has come in the last 9 or 10 months and it just said, screw all that. Really. Now, this all happened. The shutdown itself was triggered because of the continuing resolution, or a temporary funding bill, expired, and Congress did not agree on a full budget or a stopgap. A key sticking point for the Democrats was pushing to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, or Romney Care, which Republicans did not include in their funding proposals. The strategy shift after weeks of a stalemate moderate Democrats in the Senate joined Republicans to pass this reopening bill without the ACA subsidies included, accepting only a promise. And you know what a promise means to the Republicans in this country. Nada. Okay? Nada. And that's important to say. Now, the problem that we're having here with healthcare is that the Republicans themselves don't have a plan. Obamacare, or Romney Care, technically was their plan. The Heritage Foundation, the same people responsible for Project 2025, actually wrote Romney Care, or Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it. That's been a criticism that myself and a lot of people on the actual left, not liberals, but the actual left, have had with Obamacare from the beginning. It was always a giveaway to corporations. And so now, it's funny to watch. Some years ago, Mitt Romney was actually put in the position when he was running against Barack Obama of having to argue against his own plan that he implemented in Massachusetts when he was running against Barack Obama. So now the Democrats and the Republicans are both pretending that the ACA or Obamacare was not a Republican plan. And so now, since the Democrats really took the Republicans' plan of the ACA, the Republicans don't have a plan. You see Mike Johnson, who's the speaker, and Donald Trump talking about, well, we want to give the money directly to the people. Well, you're going to give the money directly to the people who are going to immediately have to give it to these health insurance companies at exorbitant rates. And so now you're going to see these premiums, these health insurance premiums, explode. And I'm sorry, whatever little money goes to the people is not going to make up the difference. But for me, the true story is what I warn about all the time on this show, and hell, even going back to when I was on Monday nights with Jonathan Booz, rest in peace, brother. This is who the Democratic Party is. They are a right-wing corporate party pretending to be a left-wing party, which is why I'm so critical of them. This is what they do. They caved. So you see those 8 centrist moderates that they call them moderates when really they're just right-wingers pretending to be the left in the left-wing party when we don't have one. They joined the Republicans in advancing the government deal, which was on the table from the House of Representatives. And the left wing of the party, the left flank, the few somewhat left people they have, people like Ro Khanna, are demanding that Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats, step down over this. And this is a resignable offense. But it's important to state that Chuck Schumer's just doing what the donors to the Democratic Party wanted him to do. This is what they want. This is who they are. Now, some of the things they got out of this, they got a 3-month reprieve from firing any federal government employees. So I guess they'll keep their jobs until into the new year. Not any previous federal government employees, just immediate federal government employees. That's it. That's all they got. That's all they got. And the reason that this is even more a slap in the face to the average, person, particularly people in the Democratic Party, is that the Democrats have all the leverage. They have all the power coming off this election. They just elected Zohran Mamdani in New York. They won the governor's mansions in New York and in Virginia by a lot. Like, they basically flipped a bunch of Trump voting counties back to the Democratic Party. They thought that they had lost Hispanics and Asians by the millions, and plenty of Hispanics and Asians came back to the Democratic Party. Young people started coming back. Donald Trump did exceptionally good, with young people. And instead of continuing that momentum, a lot of the momentum has swung back to the Democratic Party. The Democrats have never been in a stronger position. And not only that, their base wanted them to fight. They wanted them to fight the Republicans to the death on this. And they caved anyway. And this is why I compare politics to pro wrestling. I always tell you guys, people criticize people who say, oh, y'all don't know wrestling is fake. Y'all think politics is real? Huh? You think politics is real? Oh, man. This was the plan from the jump. And the unfortunate thing is that the massive swings and electoral swings that we saw in Georgia, in Virginia, in New Jersey, that only made it more imminent that the corporate Democratic Party was going to cave on this. Donald Trump was completely freaked out. He knew that, and we saw from the election results that just happened last week, that the public was blaming him and the Republicans for what was going on. They were going to eat this 100%. And the Democratic Party served him up their defeat on the plate. Why? Why? And it's because many of them were looking for an excuse to cave from the very beginning. Again, this is what the Democrats do. Now, who are the 8 Democrats who caved, who got the okay, should I say, to cave and go along with Trump and the Republicans? Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, John Fetterman, who ran as a progressive. He ran as a progressive, and as soon as he got in office, he turned into a straight-up Zionist, right-wing, corporate, shill, liberal Democrat. Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, Jean Shaheen in New Hampshire as well. Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016, he caved. Dick Durbin, a man I've talked about plenty of times on this show because he's from right across the border there in Illinois. And Angus King, who is an independent technically, but he caucuses with the Democrats. Now notice, none of these people are up for re-election. None of them. They're either retiring or they're not up until 2028 or 2030, at which point this will be long in the rearview mirror. And they're counting on you forgetting that, you know, they caved on this bill against the wishes of virtually the entire Democratic Party, who, like I said, had all of the momentum. This was the absolute worst time to cave. Now, I've talked about this a few times here on the show, if you listen regularly, the concept of the rotating villain. A rotating villain in politics refers to when members of a political group, like a party caucus or a faction, take turn being the villain or the one who publicly opposes, or in this case agrees with a bill, policy, or reform, while others maintain plausible deniability. So those 8 Democrats who supposedly went against, for no reason, went against their own party because they're, ooh, look at me, I'm crazy. They really got the okay from the party to do that. They knew that they're not in any danger. They are retiring, or they're not up for election until 2028 or 2030. And so now they could sell out their own base, their own people, safely at the behest of the establishment wing of the party. While the rest of the party, like Chuck Schumer and all these people, maintain plausible deniability. Oh, I can't. Why would they do that? Why? I just can't understand why they would do that. Oh, man, that's just so terrible. Oh, Lord, it's so terrible. They voted with Trump. Oh, they gave it. Oh, Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Schumer's like, thank you, Yankee, you pulled me out of a jam. The goal is to preserve the group's collective power while making it seem like there's only one or two bad apples that are responsible for the obstruction. Now, you notice, and when Joe Biden was in office, the rotating villains were Joe Manchin from West Virginia, the senator from West Virginia, former governor of West Virginia, and Kristen Sinema from Arizona, the senator from Arizona. And every time, supposedly, Joe Biden wanted to do something, oh man, Joe Manchin, that awful Joe Manchin. Ooh boy, that terrible Kristen Sinema. Good God. They just, oh my God, I can't believe they're Democrats at all. That's the rotating villain strategy. Again, this is why I'm so critical of the corporate Democratic Party that pretends to be a left-wing party, but it is actuality a right-wing corporate military-industrial complex, prison-industrial complex party. And this is how they keep getting a fast one on over people. Notice how incredibly organized they are when it comes time to fighting third parties, people like Jill Stein, or fighting against somebody like Zohran Mamdani. They can all come out en masse. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and all these people, they could come out whenever there's a threat from the left wing, whether it's from third parties or from the left wing flank of the Democratic Party or Democratic Socialists. They will form like Voltron against them. They did against Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. But whenever it's the Republicans, it's like, oh God, there's nothing we can do. It's the parliamentarian. Oh my God, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. Good God, I can't believe this. And now it's, oh, Dick Durbin, why would you do this to us? Oh Lord, Gene Shaheen, Tim Kaine. Oh no, John Fetterman. Oh God, why would you do this to us? Meanwhile, behind closed doors, it's like, thank you very much. And this is why I didn't buy the No Kings nonsense. You know, God bless everybody who participated in the No Kings March, but they really just got you guys to come in and march and protest with them so that they could stab you in the back. This is what they do. This is who they are. This is why I'm so critical of the Democratic Party and what they do, and how because they get people's hopes up, especially black people and working class people's hopes up, only to pull the rug from up under them. You know. Now, the Republicans do a version of this to their base as well. Donald Trump was saying, I'm going to get rid of the filibuster. Well, okay, do it, Donald. Do it. Do it. You see, he didn't do it. And the reason he didn't do it is because a lot of Republicans were saying, oh my God, if you get rid of the filibuster, we'll actually have to do stuff we promised to our people. This is why I argue against the two-party system. This is why I don't support either party. These parties get over like a fat rat and have you guys cutting off members of your family. I see this all the time. People cutting off members of their family. Oh, this member of my family's MAGA, or this person in my family's a libtard. Dude, the Democrats and Republicans are literally pretending to fight. It is literally WWE, but far less real. CM Punk and Roman Reigns have far more enmity for each other than Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump. Far more in real life. Trust me. I've seen the pictures of Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump yucking it up in the Oval Office. They were friends for years in New York. And so, yeah, Trump wasn't going to actually get rid of the filibuster. Just like the Democrats didn't want to do it. Joe Biden didn't want to do it either. Because if the Democrats get back in power and they get rid of the filibuster, and then people are saying, look, we can give Washington, D.C. 2 senators. We can make Puerto Rico a state. We can pack the Supreme Court. Good God, they don't want to do that. They don't want to actually have to do things. We can actually, fight for the PRO Act. $15 minimum wage. Universal health care. We can codify abortion. Lord knows they don't want to do that. And so you have both parties, the mainstream corporate wings of both parties do not want the filibuster to go away, even though they claim they do. They are liars. And all of this just gives them an excuse to do nothing. To fake fight for the American public. And that's what they can do. They can stage these fake fights for the public where nothing really gets accomplished. The Republicans can go around and say, oh, man, I stood up for my side. And the Democrats go, oh, I stood up for my side. Oh, in actuality, neither one of them care. And oh yeah, another reason they had to start back the government because our shipments of weapons to NATO were stalled by the shutdown. Yeah. They can't make sure that you eat every day, but they gotta make sure that Ukraine gets weapons. All I'm saying is remember this when you cut off family members, when you watch MSNBC or CNN or Fox News or any of these media channels, or you're reading the newspaper and your blood pressure's getting high because these dastardly Republicans or these dastardly Democrats, remember, this is a game to these people. It is not real. They are pretending. All right, folks. Let's keep on rolling. Yes. When we get back, we're going to talk about our current president again. The story that everybody's been talking about, his connection to a known sex trafficker, and the rabbit hole goes deep. How deep? Deeper than Atlantis. We'll be right back after these. Here on Straight Out the Cannon with me, Scott Cannon. Here on WLTH 1370M. That's 92.7 in FM dial. If you're nasty, the region's choice, the people's voice. Stay tuned.